Now, Republicans really don't like the idea of raising the minimum wage. No, scratch that. Republican politicians really don't like the idea of raising the minimum wage. In fact, you ask a majority of the voters, they say, yes, we should raise the minimum wage. But of course, but unfortunately, the politicians in Ohio decided to go the opposite way. On December 19th of last year, Ohio Governor John Kasich signed something called Senate Bill 331. Now, the bill essentially prohibits municipalities and other political subdivisions from raising the minimum wage beyond Ohio's state minimum wage rate. Now, the current rate of minimum wage in Ohio is $8.10 an hour for non-tipped employees. So already, they have banned raising the minimum wage in the state of Ohio, unless, of course, they raise it as a state. But any city that says, hey, we actually want to pay our workers more, no, let's not do that. Okay. Now, there's a bit of an untold story here. You could point out Republicans, Republicans bad, which they are. But the untold story here is how Democrats, or at least one Democrat, helped this bill get to John Kasich's desk. Now, the bill got there because of certain local elected officials. In particular, nonpartisan Cleveland City Council President Kevin Kelley and the mayor of Cleveland, the Democratic mayor of Cleveland, Ohio, Mayor Frank Jackson. Now, Jackson and Kelley essentially asked a Republican-controlled state legislature to prevent local municipalities from being able to put minimum wage increases on the local ballot. Now, already, this is problematic. So here you've got two officials that are saying, yes, let's ban democracy in our states or in our cities when it comes to us actually wanting to raise the minimum wage.
Not only that, but, this idea that, Democrats have left the unions behind, which they essentially did. This is also a huge testament to that when you're going to go against people's rights for living wages.
Yeah. It's a disaster. Now, speaking of disaster, right? Now, look, the Democrats in 2016 was pretty devastating for the Democratic Party. However, it was a big win for the minimum wage. In fact, there were a bunch of states and cities that passed minimum wage increases by wide margins. Now, these two officials and the Republicans did not want this to happen at all in Ohio. Now, there's another interesting part of this bill is that it's like a lot of similar bills being pushed by ALEC to essentially try to suppress wages and democracy. And it's doing so by, of course, having people, preventing people from being able to vote in these local elections to raise their minimum wage if they so choose. Now, we know Republicans hate democracy, but what about the Democrats? Why would they oppose allowing cities to be able to vote on their own minimum wage increases, especially since that's supposed to be a thing that Democrats believe in? Well, it's because Kelley and Jackson both believe in the conservative lie that raising the minimum wage is going to hurt businesses and drive away jobs. It's that same old argument that keeps coming back every time we try to talk about raising the minimum wage for people.
The same old argument that is based on no evidence whatsoever.
On no evidence whatsoever.
You look at places like Seattle. You look at you look at different restaurants. You look at that grocery chain in Wisconsin. It turns out that the opposite is true.
Right.
When you treat your employees right, when you give them a living wage, you see positive results for your business, for your community. And you look at the success, the quote success of something like a Walmart, but you also look at the parasitic effect it has on the communities that it goes into, and the way it screws over the people that work there. And I mean, there's just no that argument is such a farce. I mean, to call it a lie is almost giving it more credit than it's beyond a lie. It is just a bogus delusion.
Yeah, and let me give you some facts to back us up, because unlike Fox News, we're not pulling this out of our ass, okay? Look, you said Seattle, so let's look at the unemployment rate in Seattle. And this is according to Barry Reholtz. The unemployment rate in the city of Seattle has now hit a new cycle low of 3.4%. as the city continues to thrive. The restaurant business, which is primarily impacted by these minimum wage raises, by all accounts, is booming. I think it's safe to say that we have enough data, almost 2 years now, to declare that Seattle has not suffered adverse consequences from its increases in the minimum wage, and certainly has not experienced the dire effects foretold by the anti-minimum wage crowd. Now, if you want to see the effects of the minimum wage, look at Seattle versus other places. Now, Seattle, 3.4% unemployment rate. Which is pretty good, right? And you can credit a lot of that, of course, to the current state of the economy, how we're not actually, I don't know, in a free fall like we were during the Bush years or when the economy crashed. So 3.4% is pretty damn good. You look at Ohio, for example, Dayton, 5.2%. I'm sorry, the state of Ohio is 5.2%. Dayton is actually at 5.5% unemployment. You have Cincinnati, which is at 5.1% unemployment rate. So you look at just those, and look, those numbers aren't as bad as they were. But again, Seattle has decided to go full progressive on the living wage and is booming, while these other places are obviously not doing nearly as well. They're lagging behind because of some of their policy. And if you want to look at places that are even worse, look at what's happening in Kansas. Kansas, they have a huge budget shortfall. They've cut taxes to the bone. They have a low minimum wage and complete Republican rule, and they're doing absolutely horrible. So the proof, I think, is in the pudding.
That's too bad, too, man, because you know that tons of people want to move to Kansas. If only there were good-paying jobs for them.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that it doesn't seem to be happening. Job growth in Kansas is actually really bad. It's lagging compared to the state that it's right next to, which actually has a completely different outlook. They've increased taxes on the rich, and they haven't cut taxes for corporations, and they actually seem to be doing better. In fact, a lot of the states around them that are doing the opposite of what they're doing seem to be doing better, which is kind of interesting to look at. Maybe they should look into it, into what other places are doing right. Just saying. And look, the final thing. This conservative lie that we've been told, that raising wages for working people doesn't work, that's a lie. It's bullshit. Actually, raising wages helps workers, it helps businesses, and it helps the economy at large. And the really distressing thing is to see another Democrat echo this conservative talking point. That's the huge problem with me, okay? And it shows me how much work we need to do to reframe the narrative into one that actually takes into account actual facts. Because that's what we have on our side.
And we need to get the dinos out of here. I mean, really, like, and you know, you said that on the show a few days ago when we were talking about that, like,
Absolutely.
You know, the platform and so forth. You need to get the dinos out of there. And you know what? If you don't support workers' rights, if you don't support a minimum wage, you're not a Democrat. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, that's the one thing. I mean, yeah, sure, we have some room for debate over like certain issues and over certain like subsets of those issues. But if you're not overall on the side of raising the minimum wage, of the side of the worker, you're not a Democrat. Like, you're just not.
And that's pretty much it. Get those assholes, get them out of the party. They have no place in a progressive party, which is what we need to make the Democratic Party into. Because it's obvious right now that it is far from its roots. This is not the party of FDR anymore. And we need to change that. Simple as that.
Well, we need to become the party of FDR again if we want to win anytime soon.
And not just win.
Because, you know, if history's an indicator.
And it's not just about winning. It's actually about doing the right thing. The things that are going to actually help the American people and help us become a stronger democracy. But don't listen to us, DNC. We've only been telling you this for a long time. For the past few years, at least, and you have not paid attention to us. And look what happens. Yeah, you get crushed at every level of government. Pathetic.
But Nancy Pelosi said people don't want to change, Jeff. They're happy with the way things are.
Wrong.
People that want the Democratic platform are happy with losing. They're okay with it. They think that they're like, it builds our character when we lose.
Wrong. Believe me.
That's what happens. You know what we need to do, Nancy?
You're kicking me out the door.
Get out.
You're kicking me out the door.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.